We bring you the latest updates from the Pna Newsroom. President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. underscores the significance of the country's laws and constitution, saying the 1987 Constitution is still dynamic and flexible. He also mentioned that the Constitution has been amended several times to keep up with changing times. Apart from establishing a democratic system of government, Marcos said the 1987 Constitution continues to protect and uphold the fundamental rights and freedom of every Filipino. During his speech to commemorate Philippine Constitution Day, Marcos acknowledged the Philippine Constitution Association, or PhilConsa, a group of constitutionalists and framers of the 1987 Constitution, for its critical role in defending and promoting the country's charter. Marcos also urged PhilConsa to continue assisting the government in ensuring that its plans and programs remain compliant with the tenets of the Constitution and the laws of the land. Philippine Constitution Day is still observed on February 2nd, the day the 1987 Constitution was officially ratified in a plebiscite by the Filipino people. The commemoration used to be held on February 8 because that was the day in 1935 when the 1934 Constitutional Convention completed its work on the Philippine Constitution. Meanwhile, the government assures that preparations for a major earthquake in the country are still underway following the 7.8 magnitude earthquake that struck Türkiye this week. In an interview, the Civil Defense Office stated that it never stops preparing for earthquakes, noting that the Philippines is located within the Pacific Ring of Fire. AOCD Joint Information Center head Diego Mariano said that among their preparations are quarterly national simultaneous earthquake drills. Mariano added that the National Building Code is important in ensuring that buildings can withstand strong earthquakes and that casualties during earthquakes are reduced. Meanwhile, the OCD will be deploying its 85-man team to Türkiye to aid in the rescue and relief efforts. The team is scheduled to leave Ninoy Aquino International Airport Terminal 3 tonight on a commercial flight sponsored by the Turkish government.
Tayo naman po nagpe-prepare naman po lagi dahil alam naman po natin na ang Pilipinas ay lagi pong tinatamaan ng lindol dahil tayo po ay nasa Pacific Ring of Fire. Tayo po ay lagi po nagpe-prepare. Katulad nga po ng quarterly National Simultaneous Earthquake Drill. Yan po yung sinasagawa natin para tayo po ay magkaroon ng muscle memory kung anong dapat gawin kapag meron po lindol. Kasama na po dyan yung pinakasimpleng duck cover and hold para implement pero nakaligtas or naka-minimize ng casualties. At bukod nga po dyan, doon po natin nalalaman sa NSED or earthquake drill na yan yung dapat i-develop o i-improve sa equipment, sa skills or policies.
In other news, the country's gross international reserves rose this January, with structural inflows expected to give an added boost. Data released by the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, or BSP, showed that dollar reserves increased to $99.72 billion from month ago's $96.16 billion. However, this was lower than year ago's $107.69 billion. Rizal Commercial Banking Corporation Chief Economist Michael Ricafort said the country's dollar reserves can get a lift from strong inflows from overseas Filipino workers, foreign investment inflows, foreign tourism, and revenues of the business process outsourcing sector and Philippine offshore gaming operators, or POGO. Ricafort also said the continued increase in fundraising and other investment banking activities by the country's biggest companies could add to foreign investment inflows. He said, to date, the dollar reserves would continue to support the peso exchange rate against any speculative attacks. And in our news overseas, rescue and relief teams from several countries and coalitions are on their way to Turkey and Syria. This as the death toll in the magnitude 7.8 earthquake exceeded 7,800, while survivors are left to fend for themselves amid freezing weather. More on this from Marita Mawahe.
The death toll in the 7.8 magnitude earthquake that struck Turkey and Syria on Monday has climbed over 7,800, with survivors now fighting the bitter cold to stay alive. Widespread damage has been reported, particularly near the quake's epicenter between the Turkish cities of Gaziantep and Kahramanmaraş. The winter has worsened conditions for survivors who have been left homeless. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan declared on Tuesday a 3-month state of emergency in 10 southeastern provinces. In Syria, the health ministry reported damage across the provinces of Aleppo, Latakia, Hama, and Tartus. The World Health Organization warned that up to 23 million people could be affected by the massive quake. Meanwhile, in Syria, the earthquake has brought extraordinary survival tales, such as that of a newborn baby pulled alive from the rubble while still tied by her umbilical cord to her mother, who had already died. Relatives managed to hear the baby's voice and dig her out of the ruins. The infant is the sole survivor of her immediate family, who was killed in the rebel-infested town of Jindairis. Several nations, including the Philippines, United States, China, and the Gulf states, have sent search teams and relief supplies to the affected population. Azerbaijan was the first to send a team with 400 personnel conducting search and rescue efforts. A 161-member team from the United States is on its way to Incirlik Air Base in Adana province to help retrieve survivors. China sent a team of 82 rescuers and health personnel, as well as 8 people from the search and rescue organization Ramunion. Mexico has dispatched 145 rescue personnel, while El Salvador will send more than 100 to assist efforts in Turkey. The European Union has sent 1,200 personnel and 79 search and rescue dogs, while the United Kingdom is deploying 77 search and rescue specialists, state-of-the-art equipment, and search dogs. NATO also announced that more than 1,400 emergency response personnel are arriving from over 20 allies and partners, including Sweden and Finland. For the Pna Newsroom, I am Marita Muaje.
And that is the latest and the biggest stories from the Pna Newsroom. For more news content, visit our webpage or head on to the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. We are also shown on the pages of the Presidential Communications Office and on Radio Pilipinas RP1. I am William Theo. We tell stories that inspire change.